Interstellar Love, the atypical love of the combat doctor. Chapter 1, The Failure of the Fifth Blind Date. In Interstellar 2233, the daily life of the Federation is hectic and indifferent. For Kui Wanyu, this year will be an endless reincarnation between her and her blind date. Wanyu, you can't be angry anymore on today's blind date. The mother's voice came through the communication device, and the anxiety and expectation in her tone were clear. Kui Wanyu took a deep breath, clenched the blind date information that was about to be sent, and prayed silently in her heart helplessly, this should be the last time, the last time. However, after 5 blind dates, her mood has changed from the initial expectation to a dead heart. She couldn't understand why every blind date turned into a tragedy, always those boring conversations and incomprehensible eyes, and no one could walk into her world. What's wrong with you? Looks like he's in a bad mood. The blind date Lin Yeyu's tone was a little puzzled. He was not tall, but a young man in a military uniform. His face was elegant, but his attitude was too cold. It's fine. Kui Wanyu smiled reluctantly, and then hurriedly ended the blind date. 6th. Hopefully something different. She thought to herself. Chapter 2, Doctors of the Military Region. In order to force herself to compromise with reality, Kui Wanyu decided to give up on finding a perfect partner and devote more energy to her career. The family arranged for her to enter the 12th Military Region of the Alliance as a Combat Preparedness Area Doctor. At first, she was looking forward to her new role. Becoming an honorable military doctor seems to be able to free her from the shadow of blind dates. However, when she actually entered the military district, she found that the work here was much more difficult than she had imagined. Military training, medical work, standby. Every day is a race against time. Whenever she was too tired to take it anymore, a silent tree hole in the hospital room became her safe haven. Kui Wanyu will always be busy, taking advantage of no one to disturb, and secretly tell her heart to the seemingly uninhabited tree hole. These people are so annoying. What the hell am I going to do to make them understand me? Her voice whispered into the air. Sometimes, she will hear the echo in her heart, and even unconsciously let go of her guard and talk with this unknown being. Why is everything so troublesome? Am I not good enough? Chapter 3, The Tree Hole's Response. One day, after Kui Wanyu finished sorting out the medical equipment in the ward, she walked to the tree hole as usual, ready to confide in it some of her emotions. Just as she was about to speak, a hoarse voice suddenly came from the tree hole. Don't be sad, I'll be with you. Kui Wanyu was stunned. She blinked, confirming that she had heard correctly. What did you say? I'll be with you. The voice sounded again, with a hint of comfort and tenderness in his tone. She was shocked. This was the first time she had heard the sound of a tree hole. She looked around suspiciously, but saw no one. She took a deep breath, feeling that it was nothing more than an auditory hallucination from her own exhaustion. However, as time passed, the tree hole seemed to begin to become an outlet for her emotions, and whenever she was worried, she could always hear the familiar voice. You don't have to worry, he is popular and will please girls, unlike me. Kui Wanyu couldn't help but smile lightly. How do you know? I wasn't in the mood to think about that. The voice of the tree hole continued to sound. You are so good, how can he say that you are not good? If he doesn't understand you, then forget it, I'll take you there. After each conversation, Kui Wanyu always feels a sense of relief, as if all her worries have been silently erased. Chapter 4, Unexpected Discoveries. However, as the conversation with the tree hole became more frequent, Kui Wanyu began to notice a hint of abnormality. The tone of the tree hole knew her mood too well, and even some were unusually accurate. Once, when she talked to Shudong about her views on marriage, Shudong unexpectedly responded, I thought he would accompany you, forget it, I'll take you there. She frowned slightly, and an inexplicable uneasiness rose in her heart. Who are you? She couldn't help but ask. Me. The voice of the tree hole carried a hint of slyness. I want to make you happy. Kui Wanyu's eyes widened, and her voice seemed somewhat familiar. Her heart began to beat faster, and uncertain thoughts flashed through her mind. She quickly stood up and approached the hollow in the tree, but she couldn't see anything. At this moment, she felt an inexplicable pressure approaching her heart. Suddenly, the voice of the tree hole came again, but this time there was a hint of tenderness. Don't be afraid, I will protect you. She only had time to react, and the voice of the tree hole became more gentle. If you want, I will always be with you. Chapter 5, An Unexpected Encounter. As time passed, Kui Wanyu gradually began to wonder if this tree hole was really just an illusion created by some human. One day, she finally couldn't help but walk into the instrument room of the hospital, and just as she was about to check some equipment, she accidentally bumped into a male figure who was working on documents. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Kui Wanyu hurriedly apologized. The man raised his head and showed a gentle smile. It's okay, you're so busy, how can you notice? Kui Wanyu was stunned for a moment. The man, It turned out to be the voice she had heard when she was talking to the tree hole. She couldn't believe her eyes. "Are you?" she asked, a little incredulous. He smiled slightly, with a meaningful light in his eyes. "That's right, I've been here with you from the beginning." Chapter 6, The Truth Revealed. Kui Wanyu was stunned, staring at the man in front of her in dismay. She had never seen him before, but she always felt that that familiar voice had already occupied a special place in her heart. "You? Are you the voice of that tree hole?" Her tone was both shocked and uncertain. The man smiled slightly, and there was a faint light in his eyes. "Yes, it's me." His voice was calm, yet full of a certain indescribable charm. "I've noticed you since you started working here." Kui Wanyu's heart beat faster, and at this moment she suddenly understood many things. She once thought that her conversation in the ward was just her own auditory hallucination, but she didn't expect that he was silently accompanying her behind her back, and even noticed her every mood swing and understood her every heart. "You? How so?" She couldn't help but ask, a hint of confusion flashing in her eyes. The man was silent for a moment, as if pondering how to explain it all. Eventually, he whispered, "I know you don't like these blind dates, and I know you are tired of those boring conversations. You don't want to be tied down, you want to be free, I understand." He raised his head and looked at you deeply. "So, I am silently accompanying you behind your back, giving you the courage to go further." Kui Wanyu was stunned. She never imagined that this person would become her support when she was most helpless and lonely. Her heart was filled with both gratitude and confusion. "Who the hell are you? Why do this to me?" Instead of answering her question, he whispered, "Because you're worth it. I have never seen a woman like you, who is not only beautiful and intelligent, but also has a resilient heart. These blind date men are not worthy of you at all." Kui Wanyu's heart swelled with an inexplicable emotion, which was both familiar and unfamiliar. She wanted to hide her emotion, but she couldn't resist the fluctuations in her heart. Chapter 7, A Subtle Change Between the Two. As time passed, the relationship between Kui Wanyu and the man became more and more delicate. At first, she remained cautious and defensive about him, but after contact with him, she gradually began to understand his kindness. He didn't just want to help her, but in a special way, he guarded her. Every day, Kui Wanyu can feel his presence, whether it is every night in the ward or in a lonely moment, there is always that familiar voice echoing in her ears. Whenever she was confused or upset, he was always there to comfort her and give her courage. One night, Kui Wanyu was sorting out materials in the ward when she suddenly heard a soft laugh behind her. She turned around to find the man standing in the doorway, with a faint smile on his lips. "Here we go again." Kui Wanyu smiled helplessly, but she couldn't hide the throbbing in her heart. He walked into the ward and said softly, "Tonight, you don't have to deal with those tedious things anymore. Come and walk with me for a while." Kui Wanyu's heart moved, and at this moment she seemed to feel more relaxed than she had ever been. She followed him out of the hospital room and onto the quiet military district trail. "I'm a little overwhelmed by what you are doing," she whispered. He looked down at her with a gentle look in his eyes. "You are so good, you deserve a better life, and you shouldn't be trapped by those constraints." Kui Wanyu was silent for a while, then looked up at the starry sky. "What about you? Who are you? Why is it so good for me?" The man's steps paused slightly, and his eyes were deep. "I am a person who guards you in the shadows, my name. It doesn't really matter. But I want to know." Kui Wanyu looked directly at him. "I want to know the truth behind all this." The man smiled slightly, and his tone was low. "I am a shadow who exists to protect you. Externally, I am a ruthless officer, but to you, I am the only one who is willing to hold up for you." Kui Wanyu's heart beat faster, and the man in front of her suddenly became so real and so close. She suddenly understood that the special emotion she had been feeling all along, it turned out to be not an illusion, but a real dependence and love hidden deep in her heart. Chapter 8, Turn Around. As the relationship with the man warmed up, Kui Wanyu began to become more determined and confident. She is no longer confused by those nihilistic blind dates, she has her own direction, her own life, and a man who is willing to pay for her. However, the relationship is not as simple as it seems. The man's identity is still hidden, and Kui Wanyu is not completely able to control everything about him. In such a relationship, she was always uneasy and afraid of losing this special dependence. Finally, one day, when Kui Wanyu asked him again about his identity, the man's eyes became firm, and he whispered, "I don't need your trust to prove my love for you. I just hope that you can believe in yourself and believe in the feelings between us." Kui Wanyu listened to his deep voice, and suddenly her heart warmed. Perhaps, love doesn't need too much explanation, it just needs each other's protection and understanding. She smiled slightly, and there was a glint in her eyes. "I believe in you, and I believe in myself." Under this starry sky, their hearts are closely connected again, and the future may still be full of unknowns, but at this moment, she is no longer afraid.